photography, like in terms of my work today, um, I still take a lot of my own photos, for my stories, which I enjoy because, it keeps me in the practice of it. Um, like for example, my coverage of the Arizona Super Show, I took like a small gallery of photos, maybe about like 25, 28 photos, and took them out there. And
Hello, everyone out in Phoenix and beyond. My name is Ignacio Ventura, and you're listening to the Ventura Valley. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm meeting with the man known for his shenanigans, David Ulloa Jr. David is a writer for La Voz and the Arizona Republic, where he covers various topics, including those related to the Latino and Hispanic community. And just as a disclosure, I personally know David because of our time at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Arizona State University. It's great to have you, David. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been good. Yeah, everything's been good. Thank God.
Thanks for joining us. So just tell me a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah. Um, so I won't give you my whole life story. But as you said, I'm a reporter for La Voz in the Arizona Republic. I'm originally from Maryville, Arizona. It's a West Valley community, and here, in Phoenix, where you're from as well. Mm. And yeah, I just grew up here my whole life, lived in the same house my whole life. I went through I went to Trevor Brown. Our high schools were rival high schools. Um, Went to, and did my time at the community college, went to GCC, and then I went to the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, and yeah, and then, from there I just got involved with different organizations. I always just kind of did a little bit of everything, just to test out the waters. And the last thing I was really involved with, well, probably was always involved with for during my whole time at Cronkite, was the NAHJ-ASU, the National Association of Hispanic Journalists, the ASU chapter. And as I became an ANMA scholar, I became involved with ANMA, with who I've been involved with ever since, my time at Cronkite. And yeah, that's pretty much, I guess that's a good bio for who I am.
Thanks, David. Have you always been interested in journalism, or when did your interest in journalism sort of begin for you?
Well, I would say writing and reading has just always been, I mean, writing I didn't pick up until like maybe eighth grade, and even then I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I've always been reading. I mean, like, you can't see it right now, but in my closet, there's like a crap ton of books, and I have a bunch of books right here stacked next to me. It's like just a mess of that mostly. So I've always been kind of, a bookworm, I guess is the word. But journalism, I think that really picked up probably maybe I would say maybe like probably my senior year of high school. Junior year, I took a videography class at Trevor, with a really good teacher. His name was Andrew Schuyler. So I just want to give credit to him where it's due. But he's you know I picked up the photography bug first. A friend of mine, his name is Saul Ruiz. He's the one that kind of really showed me, like photography. Because I had always seen like these professional pictures, done by photojournalists and professional photographers, and I always thought, I was like, nah, man, there's no way anyone can do that. And I'm like, it's just too good. Like you gotta have like 20 years of education or something. And here's Saul, who is like just a year older than me, and he was showing me this picture he took with Devin Booker, who, at the time the Suns doing too well. Um, he took a picture of Devin Booker shooting a free throw, and I was like, and he showed it to me. He was like, look at this picture right there. And I was like, no, man, there's no way you didn't. You took that. And I was in denial, and then he showed me, and I was like, man, that's crazy. So, that's where I kind of really saw the potential in photography. I was like, man, if here's this guy who's still in high school, just a year older than me, if he can take pictures like that, shit. Well, and I'm sorry for my language. I'm like, shoot, maybe I can take that myself. So, I stayed with that videography class because it was like a 2-year program, and I did what was called a BTV at high school. It's like not like the video announcements, but more like on the creative side. Like we learned how to make like short films and that sort of thing. So that's when I decided I wanted to be a photojournalist. So and then, you know, from there is when I realized I wanted to go to Cronkite because I'd always been kind of like between like NAU and ASU. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the main reason I wanted to go to NAU was because I like Flagstaff so much. So but Anita Luera, when I believe she was still working with Cronkite at the time. She's a member of Alma. Um, she came and told us about Cronkite, and I believe she even gave us a tour, because we arranged like a field trip to go there, me and my class. And then that's when I realized I was like, oh crap, this is where I want to go here. I really want to go here. And it's gonna sound really cliche because that's where I worked at for like a year, almost 2 years at Cronkite. But I saw the equipment lab, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at all these cameras. Just look at all these toys I can play with, basically. And so, that's when I realized I wanted to do. I'd still have photojournalism in the mind. Um, I don't think it was until maybe like I got to Cronkite or that first journalism class I took I took at the I took at GCC with an instructor. She used to write features for the Republic, and I feel so bad I can't remember her name. But she was a really good teacher, really good teacher. She you know she's the one that taught me like basic fundamentals like inverted pyramid and all that, and showed me that I can write too. So yeah, so that I can write journalistically. So yeah, that's when I realized I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go for writing. So that's what I did. I just kind of experimented at Kronk. I did a little bit of everything to get my foot in the water. But yeah, that's kind of the story in a nutshell. I mean, writing has always been kind of there. Eighth grade, is I guess when we got more into like creative writing, that sort of thing. And even in high school, there was instructors who really showed me the potential as well, like the Burks, Mr. and Mrs. Burke. Mrs. Burke particularly really showed us, the power of her voice. Um, Showing us that she showed us this video of this movie of Al Pacino where he's going on this whole monologue about how the president's a bum and how, the power of, the people really comes from the people themselves. So yeah, there's been instructors like that along the way who, for the sake of the timing of your podcast, I don't want to take too much, but a lot of people, good people like that, like Mrs. Relis, she was my eighth grade teacher, like Burks and stuff like that, that really kind of helped formulate me into that path, especially, my parents who were always supportive and, my family in general. Yeah, that's the nutshell.
I see. And I do want to get a little bit more into the role models later in this interview too. But before
Yeah.
I do, you had mentioned photography and videography, and I just want to know how both photography and videography, to what extent do you have those in your work today?
Um, well, I for a lot of my stories, I do take my own photos. Not so much videos. I did I did the video aspect, which I still really love, but as you know, Adobe Premiere is very expensive. So I don't do it as often, but I still kind of mess around with that on my free time. But photography, like in terms of my work today, um, I still take a lot of my own photos for my stories, which I enjoy because it keeps me in the practice of it. Um, like for example, my coverage of the Arizona Super Show, um, I I took like a small gallery of photos, maybe about like 25, 28 photos, and took them out there. And occasionally at La Voz, if someone needs help, someone needs me to take photos um of like people and stuff like that for the stories, yeah, I'll go do it because I still love it. And I mean that in itself has brought me some interesting stories, which I can share with you later if you want.
Yeah, sounds good. And I kind of want to get into your work with La Voz and the Arizona Republic. How did you end up working for them, and how has it been like being there so far?
Um, so it's kind of like a complicated story, but basically I had been in touch with Joa Jacobo, our the editor of La Voz, since internship interview day. When I was in when I was at Cronkite internship interview day, I ended up going with Phoenix Magazine, which, still a very great experience. Especially with my editor, Leah Lemoyne. Sorry if I mispronounced her last name. But very great editor. Very encouraging. She made it a very great workplace. But like I still kept in touch with Joe Jacobo. And, by the time senior year Cronkite came around, final semester, I think it was maybe March or April, I want to say. She shot me an email. She was like, hey, are you still interested? I was like, heck yeah, I'm still interested. And so, um, I just went through the process, and I interned there for the summer, and I got extended to December, and then December rolled around, and I got extended again to June, and we're just kind of seeing where it goes, and um, yeah, I mean it's been a really good experience. It's not gonna lie to you, it's been one of the most like trans. I mean they've all been transformative experiences, but this one has played like a really big part. I think because I've been with them for almost a year now, so.
I see. What kinds of stories have you written for La Voz and the Arizona Republic? Are there any particular stories that have attracted the most attention so far?
Uh, um, if you're talking about attracting attention, I don't know. I mean, Parsley. I don't know if I can look at Parsley and see which ones generated the most readers, but um, I think they've all kind of done their part in doing what they need to do. I mean, I've covered a little bit of everything, quite literally everything. I've covered immigration. I've covered I did a story um with Sylvia Solis, who's now in a different position with the Republic. She's in charge of like community engagement and stuff like that. But I don't know quite her title, but she is a very great journalist who I worked with on the story about kind of tracking like the history of like activism in Arizona. It was a really good story, and it got us the front cover on one of the Sunday papers. But so I've done stuff like that. I worked with like so immigration stories like that is usually, I've like tag teams with like people, like Sylvia or like Daniel Gonzalez, but um, all very great journalists, and they really helped me to where I am. But so I've done like stuff like that on occasion. I've covered local politics. I've covered the um the story pertaining to Cassandra and Lydia Hernandez. And then I've done other stuff like what else have I done? I do a lot of profiles because it's just kind of my bread and butter. I really like writing profiles um on different people like people like Eva Mazariego, like the person in charge of the Arizona Mexico Commission, organization you would never rarely heard of, but it's a organization that pertains to, Arizona, Mexico, connections, and the relationship between Arizona and the state of Sonora. So stuff like that. I've written about Las Calacas, a punk rock cumbia band. Um, Ray Cruz from Working Class Cultura, his profile, and other stuff like that, or like small like service stories, like here like Latino businesses you can support. Even then, I still try to weave in profiles. Like I did like a mini profile on the guys on the Quintana brothers at Easy Style Barbershop in Maryville. And yeah, a lot of these people, that I mentioned, especially like Las Calacas or like Ray Cruz and like the Quintana brothers, these are all people that have some sort of tie to like West Phoenix, and like Las Calacas. The drummer Rafa, he's from Maryville, and a lot of the band members there are from Maryville, South Phoenix, West Phoenix, Yuma, Ray being from the Alhambra district, the Quintana brothers from right over there on 75th and Indian School. So yeah, just stuff like that, and there's other stories. I mean, like I know the one. Like I know like a few of them have even gotten published in USA Today, like the one I did on Joseph Rock Perez. He's a mural artist who got his starts in West Phoenix and, eventually moved to Chicago and, you know, went to art school, dropped out, but then became like a huge, huge artist, working with the Cubs, the Suns, everyone. Um, and I did a story about him coming back and doing a painting at his old school in West Phoenix, Esperanza Elementary. And so yeah, just a mixture of everything really. I mean, I think as far as I know, I think I've covered everything because I mean I've been out there, covered a couple of protests. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't covered, and I don't know because I'm just kind of I like making myself available to whatever's out there because you never know what kind of stories out there to cover.
I see. Before you go and write these stories, how do you conceive the idea of coming up with them? Like, for example, are you the one pitching them? Is there someone you're affiliated with that pitches them for you, or how does that come about? What's that process like?
It's a mixture. A lot of them I pitch them. A lot of them are stuff that my editor Joa finds and tells me about, and I'm like, oh shit, that sounds cool. So, you know, so it's a mixture of both. When I pitch them on my own, I guess as I usually, I'm not gonna lie to you, like everything else. I mean, I just kind of find it on the internet. I just find it on social media. I'm like, because Las Calacas, I had been knowing about them because I had been wanting to write a story on them. I just never got around to it because I had known them since I took this bilingual reporting class at Cronkite with great instructor Andres Martinez, and I had written like a profile on them, but I never managed to get it published. So by the time I got to La Voz, I was like, all right, let's do this again. Let's actually get this published. So you know, just like that, like Las Calacas, I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't even remember how I found out about Las Calacas. I think I know I found out about them on social media. I just trying to remember what specific post I saw that caught my attention. But so just a lot of time Instagram. Instagram is like a treasure trove of like knowledge for stories. Like working class cultura, I found out about because saw like I think an Instagram ad for one of their t-shirts, and I was like, dang, I bet you there's a story there. And like I had seen them briefly in one of the El Valle commercials for the Suns. So yeah, just like kind of everywhere and anywhere. And I mean, and Joel as well. I mean, he's connected me with some great stories I never even thought of. Um, like I did a profile on Palabra. Not there's two Palabras, mind you. There's two in downtown. Palabra Bilingual Bookstore, and there's just Palabra. Palabra is the one over there by the Churchill. Um, Joel is the one that connected me with them, and originally it was supposed they were supposed to be part of like a small business story uh for Small Business Saturday, and it didn't go that route with them, but like it was still like a really great interview. So that in itself, basically what I'm trying to say here is like stories, like I kind of built stories on like it's almost like a Marvel Cinematic Universe. And just realizing how small of a world it is. It's just like a bunch of these stories just all leading to one another. Um, so with Palabra, I wrote about them. Really great, interesting story, especially like this work that they were doing on trying to get the word out more about the arts in Maryville through their initiative called Labor. I'm sorry for blinking out for a minute. It's yeah, sorry for blinking out there for a minute. Through Labor, which is a really great and really interesting initiative because they were trying to get the arts out there in Maryville. So, I did a story on that. I did like a profile on that and as a preview as well to one of their events. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like there's still a great profile here. So, I wrote a profile on them because they were from Maryville. And because I never thought that. I mean, it's for me, for speaking basically on my occasion, all the times I've been in downtown, it's rare when I find someone else from Maryville. So here, like these two business owners, Priscilla Urate and Jorge Ignacio Torres, who are running this business there. So it's cool. It's interesting. I guess this is a long way of saying that stories, you can find a story within a story. Um, yeah.
I see. And speaking of some of your stories, one that I saw recently was the one you wrote on the Phoenix Marketplace. You recently wrote this story on businesses at the Phoenix Marketplace seeing a drop in sales following the current presidential administration's crackdown on immigration. And correct me if I'm wrong, you collaborated with Daniel Gonzalez on this piece. Is that correct? Yeah.
What, I'm sorry. What was it? You just wanted me to speak on it? Or,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But I just wanted to double check. You also collaborated with Daniel Gonzalez on this piece. Is that correct?
yeah, I worked with Daniel. Yeah, on it.
Yeah. So walk me through the process of writing that story and how it came to be.
So, with all due honesty, I found out because I had one-on-one meetings with my editor, Joa. She told me she was like, good, it's kind of, I guess, kind of verbatim. As she told me during the meeting, she was like, there's also a story Daniel wanted to talk to you about, about kind of the premise of that, how the immigration crackdowns are affecting, local businesses um, and then I ended up talking with Daniel and, me and him just got kind of to work about on it. We are trying to find businesses, that we that were affected by the immigration crackdown because we know we kind of had a hunch that there was some kind of effect there. So we kind of had a hunch and yeah, we just kind of cold called and cold emailed a bunch of different businesses and just to see well basically who would answer. And I think what we ultimately ended up doing was kind of a man on the street type of deal. And we went to Phoenix Marketplace and um talked to some local business owners there and that's when the story really started to formulate. We had to talk to a couple and we got the main people of the story. Everyone there had like a very interesting story and perspective to tell. And so that's kind of the hard part about journalism is like you know it they all have really great stories to tell. It's just trying to find a way to you know balance out all the voices. So yeah, and I mean Daniel was a huge help to it. Because I mean man's been in it for a very long time. So is he's a really great guy, really really humble. So I learned a lot. So he kind of took it was a collaborative effort and but it was his story that he pitched and well it was he pitched it was his idea first and he looped me in and we kind of just got to work on it.
Nice, nice. That story came out really well. I thought it was a really great story and an important issue to cover as well. I
Thank
want
you.
to go back to your earlier in this interview, you mentioned some of your role models, and I wanted to know if there were any other individuals that maybe influenced the person you are today.
I'm not gonna give you a whole list of my family members just because that's Hispanic family members with their long list of families, but pretty much anyone who's part of my family has played a huge role in it. The friends I've had in Maryville have played a huge role. And the teachers that I mentioned, a lot of the teachers at Cronkite, man, Cronkite has really good teachers. And I'm not trying to make this all soapbox of like why Cronkite is like the greatest school ever or anything like that, because I'm not gonna say that here as to, oh, my school's the greatest or anything like that. Um, because I'm not. I'm just saying like I had a fairly good experience there. But like, because of the teachers I had there and like the good friends I had there. Um, and but like my family, I mean, my faith has kept me grounded, and my faith, and like my faith, my family, and my friends have all kind of kept me grounded as to where I am, especially like the friends I've had here in Maryville, because it's kind of like because it keeps you here, like it keeps you level-headed. Like I don't know how to say it, but it's kind of. I remember I was, my mind always defaulting to like random pop culture references, but um, I was watching this movie called Piece by Piece by Pharrell, and it was talking about how you keep one ear on the streets, and that's what keeps you, that's what keeps you grounded and keeps you putting out good stuff because where it comes, that's who you are and that's where it comes from. I think that's what kind of, and I'm trying to say that like I grew up in like some like like neighborhood or anything like that because I didn't. 'Cause my neighborhood is extremely quiet and very peaceful, thank God. But um, like just it's all the people that have kept me grounded that that have influenced me to be who I am. Because when you're grounded, that's how you put out good stories because then you recognize who you are and 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 where you come from, and that's how you tell stories of heart, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Uh, we're almost running out of time, so we may have time for one or two more questions.
Hmm.
I've seen you often advocate for there to be more Latinos in media. I noticed that this has been something you've been saying very often, and I just wanted to know how can we encourage more community members in the Hispanic or Latino community to have an interest in journalism or be more active in this industry?
Start from an early age. I mean, even then, you don't have to start at an early age. It's just simply telling people like, hey, I mean, it's like back to that photography story, where I didn't realize you can take photos like that. It's like telling people like, hey, so and so took this picture on an iPhone. So imagine, I mean, if they're taking this on an iPhone, you can do that too, man. It's kind of like telling people and showing them that they can do something themselves and and just kind of giving them that option and opportunity and showing them that they can do what a lot of other people are doing. Like, I mean, simply this, that what we're doing is a podcast is showing, some high school student like, hey, you can record a podcast. Let me just show you how. Like that phrase, teaching a man to fish, is, so you just got to teach them how to do it and you got to give them the opportunity and that chance. And once you do, you know, well, the sky's the limit. I mean, the sky's not even the limit. Shit. I mean, in outer space is the limit. I don't know. That basically, it's a limitless opportunity or whatever. Um, so it's just giving them teaching them how, giving them and giving them the opportunity and people they will flourish. And it's just not Latinos either. It's all of us, it's African Americans, Asians, everyone. We all we all need that chance to come to the table and tell our stories.
And I think just to wrap things up, this is a question I often ask other reporters and other journalists as well. But I'm just curious to know, for you personally, what's a topic or issue that you think needs more media coverage or is something that hasn't been covered often that you would like to see covered more often?
I think it's communities that are often, and I'm not just saying underserved as in the terms of like, like, oh, this poor community. It's more like communities like here, like Maryville, like our home Maryville, or like simply other communities like South Phoenix, or other, I guess the barrios is, I guess is another word. It's communities like that are often like, you know, they, albeit they might get coverage, you know, for things that are, I guess, not as positive, but it's communities like that you don't try to figure out how to phrase this. Communities like Maryville, South Phoenix, or other communities similar to it that I think communities like that, they need a, and what I try to do in my work, and I know a lot of other journalists try to do, is they try to like, give them they look they those are communities that need to like, it's some like to show people like being uplifted and stuff like that. Like here, like, here's like Palabra, here's Easy Styles, here's Las Calacas, here's working class cultura, community people like that. Here's people like making something out of themselves and doing something, for the community. And it's just not, and it's not like, and this is what I've always kind of been kind of annoyed by. It's like, these stories of like, it's like, oh, they're making it out of the hood. No, it's they're just making a name for themselves. It's like let's share these stories of people making a name for themselves and and doing something really good for the community, not just for themselves, but for the community. Let's show people like that. And and I'm and I know that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I know a lot of other people are trying to do. But I think that's just stuff like that. Like I think it's just really important. I think it's just like a really important task for us as journalists to do.
I see. And thank you for sharing your thoughts today, David. Before we do go, are there any ways people can check out your work? Can they follow you on social media? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So Instagram is the one I am probably the most hyperactive on. So you can find a way to link that or something. It's my first name, David, and if people don't know, if you need a spelling for David, it's David. Um, oh my gosh, I am forgetting my own handle. Um, it's David, and then my last name, Ulloa, Ulloa underscore II. So yeah, that's like my main Instagram, and I have a photography account that's linked on the bio. Um, so yeah, there's that. Yeah, I think my photography account's linked there. Well, they can find it there. Um, I guess my Twitter, I am very non-active on there, so same exact handle. Um, I don't know, LinkedIn, y'all want to make connections? Go ahead and add me on LinkedIn. Um, just my name, David Ulloa Jr. And I can send you all that, so that way you have it.
Yeah,
But
sounds.
yeah, Instagram. Follow me on Instagram.
Don't
If
forget,
you want to check out my shenanigans.
don't forget Blue Sky.
Oh gosh, I forgot I have Blue Sky. Yeah. I think Blue Sky is the same as mine. I'll send you that. I don't even remember my Blue Sky handle. I deleted it.
No, but sounds good, David. We'll make sure to link it. But thanks for joining Ventura Valley. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I hope you have a good day and keep it
Yeah.
up with the shenanigans.
Later.